21st century, we are defined not by our borders, but by our bonds. So I say to you and to the Mexican people, let us stand together.
Some of them still living here in the shadows with such laws as the Arizona law that is placing our people to face discrimination.
I would call on President Calderone to take a look at the law that governs Mexico today and has for many years and compare that law to the Arizona law. And I would also suggest that he surely supports legal immigration, not illegal immigration, doesn't he?
Wow, why doesn't anybody nail that down? How do you have a press conference and nobody nails that down with the president of Mexico? Or the president of the United States, for that matter. If you didn't hear it, it happened live late in the show yesterday, and we were flabbergasted. And if you've ever had, you're flabbergasted. We were flabbergasted when the president of Mexico lectured us about our discriminatory practices in this country.
From the White House.
From the White House, and then the president of the United States agreed with him and said, we're not defined by our borders. It's absolutely amazing.
This is ever so slightly bass-ackwards, but Congressman Tom McClintock, longtime friend of the Armstrong and Getty Show, has a narrow window of opportunity. So we're going to talk to the congressman, and then we're going to play you a bunch of the clips from yesterday, if you haven't heard them yet. But, Tom, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm outraged, but I'm fine.
We are, in this 21st century, we're not defined by our borders. What did you make of that statement?
Oh, it simply confirms that this is a president that is completely in over his head, that is utterly incompetent, and bereft of even the most fundamental notion of what his responsibility as the commander-in-chief of the United States actually is.
You know what strikes me? Because at least W, he made noises about, sovereignty and securing the border, but didn't do much about it.
Only called the whatchamacallits, vigilantes.
Yeah, Minutemen. Isn't it clear, Tom, that the powers that be have decided on a North American free trade, free flow of labor and people zone to compete with China and the EU, and they just don't think us stupid nationalists are ready to hear about it?
I think it's more fundamental than that. You know, our entire nation is built upon that motto, e pluribus unum, from many people, one people, the American people. There's now an element in our political structure that's seeking to undermine that concept of e pluribus unum. It seeks to hyphenate Americans, to develop linguistic divisions, to assign rights and preferences that are based on race, and that to elevate devotion to foreign ideologies and traditions, while at the same time denigrating American culture, American values, and American founding principles. Now, in order to do that, they know that they have to stop the process of assimilation that built this country, and in order to stop assimilation, they have to undermine our immigration laws, and that's what they're doing.
But Barack Obama could send the National Guard to the border. George W. Bush could have sent the National Guard to the border. Bill Clinton could have sent the National Guard, but nobody has.
And there's, by the way, nothing radical about that suggestion. Mexico deploys its military along its southern border to prevent illegal immigration from Central America.
You know, as I said yesterday, if Calderone wants to gripe at us, although doing it from the White House is incredibly galling, but if he wants to gripe at us on practical issues, policy issues, that's fine. He's a head of state. He gets to do that. But playing the morality card yesterday may have been one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard, because Mexico's treatment of migrants is despicable.
Well, it's obvious that he doesn't understand the nature of America or the purpose of our immigration laws, unlike Mexico's immigration law, which, as you said, is brutally exclusionary. The purpose of our law is not to keep people out. It's to assure that as people come to the United States, they do so with the intention of becoming Americans and raising their children as Americans. Unlike Mexico, our nation embraces immigration, but what makes that possible is assimilation.
But it's a losing political issue for any politician, it would seem to me, based on all polls, to be soft on illegal immigration.
Well, this president has developed a routine of thumbing his nose at the American people, and I think that explains why he has seen the most precipitous drop in popularity of any president in our history. I think Americans are awakening to the fact that they made a huge mistake last year, and they're now going to have to live with that mistake until the next presidential election. It was like what Lincoln often said, if the people get their backsides too close to the fire, they'll just have to sit on the blisters a while. We have the consolation that even though that's a painful experience, it's a learning experience, and as a people we emerge sadder but wiser and in time for the next election. And I think that's what we now see stirring with the elections that are occurring across the country, and that will culminate with I think a Republican majority in November.
Okay, well then, if there is a Republican majority, what would a Republican House bill look like for, and I hate the term immigration reform, but for immigration reform?
Well, I think there are essentially 5 things that we need to do. Number 1, complete the border fence that was approved by Congress several years ago.
Complete the dang fence.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, the reason why Arizona is now dealing with such a huge concentrated influx of illegal immigrants is that those portions of the fence in California and Texas are now kind of channeling that immigration through Arizona, where the fence hasn't been completed. Second, we've got to put military units in support of the Border Patrol. Put the National Guard there. Where they were deployed last year briefly, illegal border crossings dropped dramatically. Third thing, we've got to demonstrate a determined, sustained effort to deport those illegal aliens that we actually encounter through law enforcement or through social service agencies. I mean, that's the whole point of the Arizona law, is that maybe it's not unreasonable that if an officer in a routine traffic stop comes across a driver who has no driver's license, no passport, and can't speak English, that maybe that individual might be here illegally. We've got to enforce the immigration laws we have, or they will not be respected. Fourth, we've got to enforce the sanctions against employers who knowingly hire illegal immigrants. Arizona, by the way, has adopted such a law. It's the E-Verify system. It is very simple and very effective. And then finally, we certainly shouldn't be putting official government documents in the hands of illegal aliens like those in the state legislature have been trying to do.
Driver's licenses.
Exactly.
Congressman Tom McClintock is on the line. I agree with you completely about your kind of internationalist, hyphenated American, ashamed of America philosophical argument. But you and I both know this is substantially about money, especially money flowing to the powerful, the big donors, and getting voters. And I just think this whole no borders thing is A, an economic strategy, and B, just trying to, quote, win the Hispanic vote. Can the Republican Party do something about immigration and not lose the, quote, Hispanic vote?
Well, don't forget, the people who are the angriest about illegal immigration are all of those people who immigrated legally to our country, who obeyed all of our laws, who did everything our country asked of them to do,
right,
in order to become Americans and to see their children raised as Americans, and now they're watching up to 20 million illegal aliens cut in line in front of them. Those Americans of Hispanic descent, I think, are the angriest about illegal immigration because they obeyed all of our laws to become Americans.
They need to speak up. We'd appreciate the help. Hey, on a related topic, what are the chances of ending the idiotic and unique in the world native birth law, where if you sneak across the border and pop a kid, the kid's a citizen?
You'd have to amend the Constitution. That's a huge deal, right?
It is a huge deal, but I mean, if you look at the polls, the American people are awakening to the danger that unchecked illegal immigration poses to our future as a free and unique civilization. So, yes, it's very hard to amend the Constitution, but it's been done before. By the way, that provision was originally provided so that there would be no doubt that those who were born into slavery in the United States were legal citizens.
Right.
In the eyes of the 13th Amendment. The 14th Amendment extended that provision. That was not ever intended or envisioned to be used to encourage rampant illegal immigration for the sole purpose of qualifying for American citizenship.
Congressman Tom McClintock online. Tom, you're about to go hear President Calderone speak to Congress, aren't you?
Yep, I certainly am, and I also expect to have something to say on the floor later today. In response to the remarks he's already made on the White House lawn, and presumably will repeat to the Congress. And ultimately, it's going to come down to this. This is a debate of, by, and for the American people. And if Calderone wishes to participate in that debate, He's welcome to obey our immigration laws, apply for citizenship, do what 600,000 legal immigrants to our nation are doing right now, learn our language and our customs, become an American, and then he'll have every right to participate in that debate. But until then, I would politely invite him to have the courtesy, while he's a guest of this government, to abide by the fundamental rules of diplomacy between civilized nations.
Right. Well, the president,
short, mind his own business.
The president said I agree with him, so we're screwed.
Shout out, you lie.
Yeah. Not that better. I've actually gotten the translation. Usted miente. Usted miente. Which means you lie in Spanish. Tom, let's hear it. I want to hear that echoing. All right? Hey, make sure when you do your remarks, make sure we get those, all right?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, Congressman Tom McClintock, 4th District, California. Thanks, Tom.
Well, my pleasure. Thanks for
coming.
having me.
See you later.